What's it like to work with your life partner in business? How do you thrive inside and outside of work without letting interpersonal things get in the way? How do you divide the tasks and the profits? Do you have a special contract or clause if things don't work out romantically to protect what you've built? What's the best and worst thing about working with your life partner? I'm thinking of starting an agency with my developer boyfriend, but scared to mix business and pleasure. If you know, you know.
Mm. Look, awesome question. Someone's been doing their homework because we don't. And so my wife is Amber Bonny, who's the founder of where I am at Edison. We don't promote that we're married as a part of it. We're not a business run by a married couple, but we don't hide it. But yeah, no. Look, it's a great question, and we quite often get this. How do you do that? There's not a hope. So it's a bit of how long have we got, but I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible, and then towards the end, Katie will probably straighten up what I'm actually saying. So that'd be great.
I'm not touching this one. I'm not touching.
Look, it was a long time coming, and it was a pretty considered decision. There's some big things, and for whoever's asked this question, if they're thinking about it, probably question one for them is how complementary are your personalities. Amber and I are very different people. So my team here hear this a bit, but I believe there's rocks and rockets in every business. Every business needs them. Every business has got them. A rocket, they're the drivers. They're the go-getters. They're the people that chase, push hard. They grow the business. They help evolve the business. They might not be with you forever, but when they're there, you've got 200% out of them every day for the time you've got. Rocks, they're the ones that protect the business. They know the IP. They know the history. They keep things on track. Quite often, they're the realists, keeping the rockets from shooting off in too many different directions, as I put it. And sum that up, Amber's a rocket and I'm a rock. So if we were both rockets, that would have been a disaster from day one because we just wouldn't have worked. So that's the starting point. That's just the personality piece. And there's all sorts of other things. There's financials and stability. I, as we know, was elsewhere for quite a while. Amber started this business long before I was involved. And one thing lending institutions and banks love is PAYG jobs, and they don't love self-employed jobs. So me having that while Amber was building the business and having our daughter and stuff like that was fantastic for us because it gave us stability. So that's things people should consider if they're thinking about it is, okay, what impacts us? Because when you're in the business together, irrespective of how it's structured, you're relying on one source of income for two people. Now, it might be an amazing source of income if the business is great, but it's still one. So banks get a bit nervous on that. So how you structure it is the other thing. I think the question does talk about, okay, how do you share the profits? Well, that would depend on how you structure the business and what works for your situation. Speak to accountants, speak to financial advisors. We went for a owner and employee scenario because that worked for us. But without going into too much detail, I'm not an advisor, and heaven forbid I give the wrong thing. So speak to people about that. Like everything, you need clear accountability. Being a rock versus a rocket, we have very different personalities, very different skill sets. I'm very ops focused, governance, I look at the HR side, worry about the financial side. Amber's exceptionally creative. She's an exceptionally strategic thinker. She moves quickly. She's usually around the corner before I've even got to the corner. So we have very different skills and we manage different things. We can overlap a bit, but we know each other's lane, and that makes a big difference. And that's not only at work, that's at home as well. Amber knows there's always going to be food in the fridge to cook a meal. That's my accountability. I always know that everything to do with school will always be taken care of because she's got that covered kind of stuff. So, and probably ground rules. The biggest one for us is work cannot be the first conversation in the morning or the last conversation at night. So there's no waking up in the morning and talking about work or lying in bed talking about work before you roll over. That plays a massive role for us, that one. Every now and then one of us breaks it and the other one gets a bit shitty over it. But yeah, they're the key ones. I think that the other part of the question was around the positives and negatives. It's one statement for me. One of the biggest pros is everything that's going on in that person's life, work, home, you name it. One of the biggest cons is everything that's going on in that person's life, work, home, you name it. But yeah, it does give obviously massive flexibility, but there's also challenges if we both need to be in Sydney for a meeting or whatever. Okay, well, there's children to consider and pets to worry about and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so that is how we do it. We're lucky that our personalities are quite different and our skill set's quite different. But if I also know of many stories where two designers or two strategists or whatever have tried to kick off and it doesn't work well because everyone's trying to do the same thing and there's a whole lot of things not being taken care of. So that's my thoughts on that specific question about me.
Mate, that was such a brilliant answer, and thanks for sharing, the ins and outs of it. There was obviously some stuff there that it was quite personal, and I think will be really appreciated and very helpful for the person that did ask that question. So yeah, thanks. It was good.
Pleasure.
Very
Katie,
good.
you want to wrap that up for me?
No, I was enjoying listening to you, and I was just thinking that I'm the complete opposite to my partner too. And it is our greatest area of growth and our biggest trigger. There's no question, right? It's, do I need, somewhere in between us, I think is probably like a really good balance point. So sometimes it's an invitation to grow, and sometimes it really rattles our cages. And so I think you would need to have I've heard you and understood you to say, we've got the right mindset and curiosity and respect and framework around it to enable us to support ourselves within that, to let this be something that is flourishing and supportive.
Yeah. Thank you. You can charge me for the session later.
That's literally what I say to Katie every time I talk to her.
Is that what you say to everybody, Andy?
No, it's
really?
actually no. I've said quite a few times.
I should send an invoice then.
Honestly,